Rolling season 2 of Pirate Utopia, the Rockstar Edition, kicking it off. Tyler Epps, the one and only, my true brother from another. Dude, thank you so much for being here. And I just want to say it was a phone call I think that we had a week or two ago that it was probably one of the most healing phone calls I've had in the last year, to be honest with you. And I didn't expect it. And then next thing you know, it's like we're podcasting and we're talking about, I don't know, getting creative again. It's like, who would have thought?
Definitely not me.
But
Thanks
the
for
other thing
having me,
about that
bro.
phone call that I liked was like just hearing a little bit more about your story. Like I feel like you and we've got our own stories. You could write a comic book about it. But when I heard you, talking about playing basketball and then like taking it to the next level and then having an injury and then, like all of that was like prior to me ever coming into your life. And like I think that those oftentimes like lead us right to the transformational space or the cocoon or whatever. But I'm just curious, like, could you tell us a little bit more about basketball and like why that was the first thing that you gravitated to?
Mm. First of all, just thanks for having me. The conversation was like really healing for me too. And it was great to reconnect. Basketball. I love I loved basketball at such a young age that I don't remember why I gravitated. Like I think the earliest memory that I have, I remember sitting in front of a TV that had the little dial to turn the channels. And I was like laying in front of it, like 2 inches from it on my belly. And this is the only memory I have of my grandfather walking. He had lung cancer and died maybe when I was like 6 or 7 or something like that. And this memory, I remember just like glued to the TV watching basketball. Michael Jordan was on. And I was like, why do they keep blowing this whistle? Like, what is that all about? And I remember him telling me about like all the rules of the game. Um, and then I just, ever since then, like all the little kid pictures, I was like, had some Jordans on that were all dusty and a Bulls jersey. And it was just like in the cards. That's just how, what I was born with. Like, loved it since day one. And I mean, as I grew up, then my mom died when I was 11. So, uh, I mean, up until that point, she was taking me to all the practices. She worked as a flight attendant. So when she was out of town, my grandma, who passed away that same year in September, my
Wait, you
mom
lost
died
your mother
December.
and the lady that ended up taking care of you in the same year?
Yeah, well, my grandma died in September of 99. My mom died in December of 99. And my grandma would take me to the rec center every single day. And she'd sit there. She was super Catholic. And she got so mad because I was like such a little rebel at like a young age. But she would sit and read like some Catholic magazine or her Bible in the rec center every day. And I just hoop. I just play and play and play. Then my mom died. And I didn't want to excuse me, I didn't want to do much of anything, let alone play basketball. And I had to go to these like mandatory therapy things, me and a bunch of other kids that lost a parent. And it was like during lunchtime. So it sucked. I was like, y'all want me to skip lunch to talk about like my grieving process? And I did not have that language for it at the time, but I was just like, this is garbage. Like all these sad people in this room while everybody's like having their free time of the day. This is awful. And one day, a coach showed up, an AAU basketball coach. I was in the sixth grade, and he showed up, and he was like, "Are you Tyler?" I was like, "Who are you?" And I guess I was like ranked in some like little kid ranking of basketball players. So he was like, "Look, what do you need to come play? I'll get you some shoes, whatever, whatever." And I was like, "Well, I do like these Kobe's," and he got me. I remember I got these Kobe's, and I went and played, and that was like my reconnection to life after my mom died. Like I started having community again, like guys on the basketball team, and we'll go over to their house and have sleepovers and all that shit little kids do.
Damn, some Kobe shoes. Because I got a story about this, and it's just, I mean, it's pretty light, so it's like I don't really feel like you're gonna take it too hard. But there was this one time that I was going through it. and I had just come back from Asia. I had just got, broke up with my chick on a vacation. Who the fuck does this, Sleeping back at my mama's house, embarrassed and shit. And that same lady, she goes to Texas. She's like, "Oh, hey, guess what? I'm at South by Southwest, and Jay Electronica's playing. Bye." It's just like, oh fuck, like could this shit get any worse? Like he hasn't toured or anything, and all of a sudden, like a day or two later, it's like, all right, one night event, fucking San Francisco, Jay Electronica's gonna play.
Oh,
And
cool.
so I went and was like, I want the backstage everything. And I was like, it was an $80 ticket. I mean, that's a regular ticket to some rock concerts. And
eighty
this is like
dollars to go backstage at J Electronica show.
a true story. You know who bought those two tickets? Me and this other white dude. So it's like we're the two kids that are like, hey, we're the super fans, super, nervous. But I mean, Jay was just so good, dude. He like I remember he had an iWatch on. And it was like when they first came out,
Dope.
and somebody was like, "Hey, is that a new watch?" And he's like, "I don't give a fuck." He just rips his watch off, and it's like then somebody threw a New Orleans jersey on this. It's like the show hadn't even started, and people were going, dude. And I remember him with rocking these shoes that I was like, I mean, we were all hyped up on whatever we put in our heads that night. But I just remember at one point being like, the shoes that he's wearing are fucking cool as shit, and I don't know what they are. Then I go back to Omega, and you're rocking the shoes, and I'm
No
like,
way.
I swear, I was like, hey, whose shoes are those? And I don't know what level we were on, but it was just one of those days where like maybe it wasn't me and I had nothing to do with it, but you just looked at me, you're like some dudes, and just walked by me. I was just
No
like,
way. I
oh,
do not
yeah.
even remember that a little bit.
And I just remember being like, someday, dude. And it's funny to hear like, it's funny that it's Kobe because it's like you look back on it and it's like all of that build up and like I don't know, we had no idea that his future would be destined to the way it would be. But anyway, I just was just like I gotta tell him that Kobe shoe story at some point.
Oh man. Sorry I didn't tell you they were Kobe's. I do remember having Kobe's at Omega though. Because Kobe's are hella comfortable.
And they have that little
Especially,
like star shape on the top or like the triangle or something like
yeah, he's
something
got
kind of
like
fresh.
it's like it is kind of like a star inside of a pentagon is like Kobe's little symbol thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That J Electronica show must have been fun. What
Dude,
venue
so
was it at?
I'm gonna have to. I think I have the. I'm pretty sure I have it like still on my fucking phone event calendar or something. But I'd
So
have to. I'd have to look it up. It's escaping me now because
I
just
remember when we were at Omega, like you and I connected over J Electronica, and I felt like nobody else knew who he was at that place. Like, wasn't nobody really talking about hip hop, and you were far more of a hip hop head than I was at that time.
you think so? Oh man,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
remember
I
like
was like,
you always had some shit that I just like, dude, just didn't know. I remember one time you being like, you even know what the trap is? I was like, I don't know, isn't that like electronic music or something? Like, no, fool, this is some like South strip club fucking old school gangster shit.
I ain't say it like that, but I remember having those conversations because there was somebody else there who I'm not gonna like say their name right now, but like they were pissing me off because they were like trying to tell me that trap music was this electronic shit. I was like, that's like the beats, like trap music, that's coming from the South. Like that's T.I. came up with trap music and Jeezy made trap music a thing and like Gucci Mane was like trap music. But yeah, at Omega though, I was like, I got turned on to the guitar. So I mean, I was like seeing what Jerry was all about.
So you, I mean, we got all the way up to the Kobe shoes, but I
Oh,
like,
right.
where were we at in your basketball story?
Right. So okay. So that was like middle school. I'm back playing. And um it was like a big culture shock. My mom is half German, half Lebanese, and people would question her whether or not I was her son often, because of the color of my skin. And when I got to Charlotte, I went from the school. My mom and I lived in Dayton, Ohio. She died. I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. That's when I met my dad. And um, the school I went to, I went from going in Ohio. It was like 4 or 5 black kids in the whole school, and in Charlotte, the school I went to was probably like 90, 85, 90% black kids. I remember I thought I was so fresh. Tiger Woods was my favorite person in the world going into 6th grade. I walk into school with like an Abercrombie and Fitch outfit, head to toe, with like my hair like slicked at the front, like a little like slope thing. I was like, yeah, dude, NSYNC was like cool. I'm trying to dress like them and shit. So this dude came, hooked me up with some Kobe's. I started hooping. Then I was like, oh, Allen Iverson's the shit. I grew my hair out, had cornrows, 7th grade through 10th grade, 7th grade through 9th grade. It was just, I was playing basketball and being an asshole, like objectifying every girl I could, trying to like be a fast little middle schooler. And that's really what it was. Like, then I got put out my house, 10th grade, still basketball jonesing, live with my sister in Virginia. And then I had a conversation with my dad after that because I was getting recruited to go to college before I went to Virginia. And Charlotte's the biggest city in North Carolina. It's a huge basketball town. I moved up to Charlottesville, Virginia, where it's not the same sort of thing in terms of getting recruited for a basketball scholarship. So I was like, Dad, I'm a changed man. Come on, let's do it. I'll do better. And moved back down and just played. So then summer between junior year and senior year, I was playing in this church league with both of my coaches and just a couple people from the team, just like having fun on this at this church that had like a carpet court. It was like a cafeteria sort of floor with they laid a carpet on top and like painted the lines for a court. And I rolled my ankle so bad.
Ooh.
Come to find out, I didn't really have insurance at the time. My insurance situation was weird. Me and my dad like we're figuring it out, but like we weren't really like talking very often. It was awkward. Um, Played on it my senior year, got a scholarship, went to school up in Newark. When I was getting recruited, I was like, I just want to get as far from Charlotte, North Carolina as I could. And I really don't know why, looking back at it, other than there was like this, I had this spirit of adventure ever since I can remember. I just want to see like as far as I can go with this basketball thing. Let me just take it somewhere else. Like I've lived in Charlotte. Charlotte's cool. I've lived in Ohio. That's cool. Like let's see where we can go. Wound up in Newark, played my first year, and we had the work. we we have to this day the worst Division I NCAA basketball team in the history of NCAA basketball, and that's not a lie. We went 0-29, and it was
Damn.
oh my god, bro! It was the most
Dude, you're pretty good at
depressing.
basketball. I can't believe you didn't win one game.
Man, I oh my god, it hurts. It still hurts thinking about it. I've never been a part of a more dysfunctional relationship ever, and I've had a lot of relationships that's gone south, you know. But it was like more than just talent on a team. It was everything. The coaches, one of the coaches, I think he had cancer. We wondered whether or not he had cancer if he just dipped. I'm not trying to invalidate his experience,
Yeah.
but at the time, we were like, is this motherfucker really sick? Or is he just like we suck and he's somewhere on vacation? So it was hella weird. Um, Come to find out after the season, throughout the season, like during halftime and after the game, my foot would be hurting so bad, and I just like have to hold it for like 5 minutes, and then like things would chill out. Afterwards, the trainer put this electronic stimulus this on it, like, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna turn it up. If it hurts, your shit's probably broken. Man, before he even got that thing too high, it felt like a hammer was like banging my foot from the inside.
Oh.
So come to find out, I broke my ankle junior year, going into senior year, and playing on it those 2 years, and had to get surgery on my ankle, on the same knee. Um, Actually, 3 surgeries on the same knee, on that same leg, and then a surgery on the other foot because I had a stress fracture on the other foot from compensating. I was out a year rehabbing, got another scholarship to play at this junior college in New Mexico, which was a whole nother story, in a town called Hobbs, New Mexico. It's like kind of real close to the border of West Texas. It's like 30 minutes from Texas in the middle of nowhere. It's like 20,000 people in the town, real small town, desert town. There's a casino in it, in a state, in a federal prison,
Whoa.
like kind of like triangulating where our school was.
Yeah.
Um, so was going through preseason training and all that, and then um, a friend of mine who actually played on my high school team when I was a senior in high school, he was a freshman, maybe a sophomore, whatever. He was younger than me, and he wound up there same year. Um, he was like, "Bro, you know you're limping crazy." Like we were doing this training thing. We had to run. Like preseason training is just like boot camp insanity. We were just running and running and running and running. And the last thing we had to run a mile under a certain time. And BJ was like, um, he's like, "Man, you know you limping crazy." I was like, "Nah, I feel good. I'm really, am I?" And then like I started paying attention. I wasn't very aware back then, and I was like, "Damn, I am limping."
Mm.
And from that day on, there was something in me. I was like, "I'm not getting hurt again. Like for basketball, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go get another operation so that my body, because my body never felt the same again after getting surgeries. It didn't really bounce back like that." And so I told my coach, I was like, "Man, I can't play." And it wasn't until like the day before the first game or something. Because if I didn't play the whole season and I recovered, I could have had that year of eligibility back. So
Mm.
I could play, I could redshirt that year and then just play the next year. Um, he was pissed. Coach was pissed. Nobody on the team thought I was full of shit.
Mm.
I was this dude that came from this 0-29 school, and now they think I'm just milking a school out of a scholarship.
Damn.
And I was like, man, real talk, I'm just not trying to be hurt again. Ended up not playing. And then I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go to school. And I went down to University of Miami for a semester. Graduated from New Mexico. Was out of school for the fall semester. Then in January 2011, I moved to Miami and started going to the U. And then it was like this was the first time in my life, excuse me, that I really knew that I like was dealing with depression and like suicidal thoughts. And when I was in New Mexico, it was like the first time I really thought about suicide in a way where I was like, I need to go talk to somebody about this shit.
Mm.
Because at that time, it was like the hum. I was hurt and I couldn't play, and like the hum of electricity in those big ass cities was driving me nuts.
Mm.
And the only place where I felt like I wasn't on the inside of a light bulb was on top of this parking garage. And then I started tripping myself out because I just looked like, what would it be like if I actually jumped? Like, I was having all these crazy thoughts. Um, so then down in Miami, I didn't know who I was without basketball.
Mm.
I didn't know how to relate to men. I didn't know how to relate to women, and my only relation to women really at that up until that point was objectifying them to a certain degree. Like I was just a basketball player, and I knew that just because of how I looked and how I played, like how I played attracted dudes that like thought I was cool, and me and these dudes could go out and like get girls. And I thought like the measure of my masculinity was um, like how many girls that I would have on my list. And so then I didn't have this language back then, obviously, but I was like, who the fuck am I? And I didn't talk to any of my friends from college or from high school or from North Carolina for a long time. I met a cousin in Miami who I hadn't known at the time who was playing for the Miami Dolphins. So he was like doing his thing, and I could not even hang. I could not even kick it with them. I was so shook. I was scared about life, mad at myself, depressed as fuck. And I stopped going to school. I went to class for like a couple weeks, and then I was like, oh, fuck, I'm in Miami feeling shitty like this. Let me go be in Miami. Like
Yeah.
I went and bought a skateboard and was just skating around Miami and hanging out on the beach, and had another cousin down there that was like into some shady shit. And like I learned about like the pimp game in real life. And that was another eye opener. Cause like I thought I was an asshole for objectifying people how I was, and I was. And there's levels to like fuckery that's going on in this world, and in the pimp game is not cool. So I didn't have enough money to buy books. So I was like thinking about the hustle. I was like, how the fuck
Mm.
am I going to get by? Like, how am I going to make it if I'm not playing basketball, if I'm not going to school? I was pissed off at teachers because they let like the football team didn't have to do anything, basketball team, big athletes there didn't have to do anything, and I was like, I'm one of those guys, you know,
Yeah.
like I'm one of those guys. Ugh. Um, so my sister, so actually there was almost a chance where I was going to play again. I left Miami. I stayed there through the semester. Definitely did not, like, all of my classes might have been incomplete or withdrawals. I don't know. I didn't finish any classes. Broke my hand while I was down there trying to skate these benches.
Wow.
Oh, dude, I'm just not a good skateboarder, but I like it. And
I'll
uh,
tell you a secret, dude. Nobody's actually that good at skateboarding.
people are a lot better than me. I can tell you that much. uh, so I had a Dodge Charger at the time, and went up, stopped at a good friend of mine's in South Carolina, who, fun little fact about that. My friend, his name's Phil. His brother is T, and T's son is John Morant, who won Rookie of the Year last year.
No kidding.
Straight up. So I go up and play. They would have like a weekend basketball tournament every year. I don't know how long they did it, but um, at the time it was like the third or fourth, or I don't know. They had been doing it for a little bit. I went and played. Little Ja was like 8 or something and just like hooping. I was like, yeah, that little kid, he gets it. And like I could see
Mm-hmm.
the same passion that I had, it was in him. Like anytime we'd be in a timeout or something, his little ass would just be over there playing. So there just so happened to be a couple coaches that came to watch the games. And I got offered a couple more scholarships.
Mm.
And I didn't know what else to do but to say yes. So I was planning on going to this little Division II school in Virginia. My sister was still living in Virginia at the time, so I drove up to Charlottesville. Went and visited these schools. I gave them a verbal commitment, and then my sister was going. She's moving to Colorado, so I sold my Charger. We got a U-Haul, drove it out to Colorado, and I was gonna go kick it in New York City for a little while before school went back, because my aunt Paige was at Omega. She ran the library up there, and her apartment was wide open in New York. So I sold my car, got my sister to Colorado, went to the Bronx and was skating again, just kick pushing around the city. Fucked up my hand again, and I was like, this is a fucking sign. I am not a skateboarder. Like, I'm out here trying to board slide a 1-foot handrail. Like, this is not okay. Um, and my aunt Paige, the whole time, she knew I was depressed. She knew I was all fucked up. And she was like, why don't you just come up here to Omega? And I knew nothing about it except that she was there, and she was like 80. And it was like straight up vegetarian stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I was eating like McDonald's and shit at the time. So I was like, Lady Page, I'm not going up here to this old folks home where I can't even get some chicken. Like, this is not it. And after I hurt my hand though, it was like, so by this time I had surgeries on both feet. I had just broke my left hand and I fucked up my right hand there. And I was like, this is like some sign from God. This is like going back to my grandma's Catholic shit stuff. I was like, I'm like crucified by the powers that be. Every limb on my body has been injured. I need to go sit down somewhere and figure out like what's going on, like energetically, what's up. So I was like, all right, on Paige, I need to change the scene. Can I come visit? And I went up there just for a day. I rode the bus. Maybe I rode the Amtrak up there or something. Got picked up at the train station. Didn't even spend the night. And just hung out for a day. Met her at the library. And whoever was working at the library, my Aunt Paige was like, do you want to go hang out like with people that aren't my age? And I was like, I didn't even know they were up here, but hell yeah.
Yeah.
And I went and hung out. And this girl, she was doing her laundry, and like I just went to the laundry room, the one that not in the trailer park, the other one behind like the dining hall and all that, and there were like 5 young people, and they were just so nice.
Uh-huh.
People people were so fucking nice. And I was so shook, you know, I was all shook up. And their smiles and their welcoming, I was like, all right, maybe this is cool. And I went down and talked to the folks in HR, or I mean, with the people in culture. And I was like, so how does somebody work here? Like, how does this work? And they told me about it, and I was like, all right. And I went back to the city, and I was still like, I got to make some money. I'm not playing basketball. All my friends, it's like, get money or you hooping, and that's it. So I was like filling out applications, still talking to these coaches in Virginia. And then one day I just called, Amina was still there back then,
Mm-hmm.
and Amina was a savior. She was like, it was like looking in her eyes was like looking to a crystal ball. She just had this smile. She's like, well, just call me when you're ready. And I called her, and I was like, Amina, I don't know what's going on up there. It was the first week of August. I was like, can I just come and like pick up trash, like whatever job I need to do, like just let me come up there. I'm fucked up down here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I had never stayed in a tent, none of that, nothing like that was Omega. I had never any of that shit. So I went, um, had an air mattress in a tent. They had a tent for me because I didn't know how to put a tent up. It was like somebody had left and their tent was still up. And I didn't even call the coach. I couldn't, I didn't even have it in me to call the coach, tell him I wasn't coming to school.
Hmm.
I remember I got like a handful of calls and some emails while I was at Omega. I was like, fuck it, I need to heal some shit. I need to figure some things out. And that was like the end of basketball. I didn't touch the basketball court at Omega for like 2 or 3 seasons. I couldn't do it. It hurt. It was like painful to play. And then
So
I,
I guess like I've never really talked to somebody who is like in that caliber of competition. Like is that pretty normal if you're on your level to just be like, oh, I'm not at this school, I'm getting offers here, I'm going there. Like to me, I don't know. It sounds like you get one. It seemed like you get one chance, and like if you don't make it at this school, that was it. But it's, like what I'm hearing is like you had all these offers. Kind of, is that normal?
yeah, I mean, it's like the 1% of people that play basketball, but there's a lot of people that were a lot better than me. I wasn't that good. I mean, I was the very worst of the Division 1 ever. So I mean, but then there's like Division 2, Division 3, NAIA, junior college. There's a lot of different ways like folks can play basketball that aren't Division 1.
Yeah.
But any like most Division 1 athletes have options if they're healthy.
Uh huh.
I also was very fortunate to have a coach in high school that he could like hustle his way into some opportunities for his players. Like he's a great coach, well respected, asshole of a dude, but he had good relationships with people that could give people opportunities. And I had a jump shot. Like I could shoot. That was like kind of what it was. I could shoot good enough that people were like, all right, like you can just stand in the corner and shoot sometimes, make some threes. We're good. So yeah, it's not abnormal, but I was definitely privileged in like um, my opportunities to go to school to play basketball for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I really even known much about that until just the other day when you're like, and then I got hurt and I went to Omega. I didn't. I guess I never really connected the whole dots. But so then you get there and like, little did you know you're gonna be there for what, 5 or 6 summers in a row, right? Like from one day to 5 summers in a row. Shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So something in there was like happening for you. Is that what like did you know that you were unpacking? Did you know you were in the cocoon to like, become who you are in this moment, or were you like cuz I do remember like you picking up the guitar and then that was just like oh that's a whole nother chapter, and then skating like you never seemed to get rid of the board and you just kept skating and getting better at that too where I was like this fool does everything. Like literally he's good at everything he does.
Honestly, the reason I stayed at Omega, uh, I showed up, I showed up to Omega, and so at if you were to go, if you could imagine pulling into a gravel road, that's the trailer park. To the right, there's this pond that they call Bullfrog Pond, and there were like 3 tents right next to the pond. My tent was the farthest from the pond, but like in that triangle. The first day I got there, Well, while I was in the city, my aunt Paige had a guitar in her apartment, and I couldn't figure out how to tune that motherfucker. But I was already like, I want to learn how to play guitar,
Mm.
and I was trying to figure it out. Go up to the tent, and somebody was playing. This dude Frank, he was playing guitar in his tent. I was like, that's the guy. He's gonna teach me how to play. And I was like journaling a lot back then. I showed up on August 2nd. He started teaching me how to play guitar on August 4th. So it was like pretty quick where I was like, all right, um, August 3rd, I think, or maybe it was August 2nd. It might have been my first day there. It was staff appreciation day. And my body was still banged up from hooping. Ben Shikowitz was giving body tuning sessions.
Mm.
So it was the first time I had all these operations done, all this physical therapy, and what he did felt more healing than
Mm.
anything else. So somebody, Trisha, turned me on. She got me a session with Glenn for my birthday, and all that was like further down the road. But like the thing that had me stay there, that night, um, I was about to go to sleep and I was shook, dog. It was darker than it ever been anywhere in my life. Like in that tent, I was like, this is some fucking bullshit. Like I'm about to get killed. I tried to go through the trailer park, but was so scared. Like I was hearing like people laughing. Like it was just weird. I remember specifically Brett Bevel, his trailer. There was like a party going on in there, and his laugh is intense. And I remember hearing him laughing like at 9 o'clock. I don't know. It wasn't quiet hours, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going back to my tent. This shit is scary." And I went back and I asked somebody. I came up there with an eighth of weed and a box of Phillies, and I was like, "Hey, if I smoke some weed in my tent, are they gonna call the cops on me?" And that's exactly what they did. They fucking laughed at me, and I was like, "Oh shit! Like I don't have to worry about the cops up here."
Mm.
And that was it. At that moment, I realized like how much fear I had lived in just
Mm.
for like walking the streets
Mm-hmm.
or like smoking weed out front of my aunt's building. And um, that was why I stayed. There was like a certain level of comfort there that was nowhere else. While I was still trying to figure out like why I was so fucked up internally, I didn't have to worry about these external pressures of like police and these expectations of society. Like I could just be who I wanted to be and figure out what the fuck I needed to figure out. So I had no idea like what was gonna unpack or like what journey I was on, but there were so many things that happened so fast that I was passionate about, and all of it was possible because I didn't have to be afraid of like getting thrown in some handcuffs or some shit like that.
Damn. Yeah, I don't see too many cops rolling around Omega.
Nope,
Not usually.
rarely. I it was I don't even I can't even remember much of a time. I don't know if I ever saw a cop there on duty anyway, not like suited and booted. But that was, yeah, that was a lot. I didn't, and it was like mind blowing. I did not even realize how affected I was by that.
Mm. Damn, it's like it's funny to really hear this because it's like it's such a different reason than what I felt like I needed to be there for, you know. And then I hear you say your reason, and it's just like it just sounds like the truth, and the truth just sounds different, you know. Like it just sounds real. And I mean, they made this comment the other day, and it's like we don't have to like hang on this topic if you don't want to, but just walking home here in Woodstock, fucking cop just pulls over. It's like, hey, sir, you want to ride? You know, I mean, dude, I could have been a crazy dude. I could have had a gun. I could have had a knife on me. I could have a number of different things. And just that this person would just, based on the color of my skin, say, hey, you appear safe to me. You know, and it's like, that's a, to flip that and imagine going through the duality like, oh, hey, you're just walking yourself home. Now there's a problem here just because of I'm deciding there's a problem. Out of what? Out of what reason? Out of, I mean, it's like I'm still going through my journey of like unlearning and like recognizing what is institutionalized racism and how important it is to understand it before you speak about it and try to accept everybody else's experience and like, you know, I think like I don't think, I know that you were going through some sort of like shift with that within yourself while you were there, and it was an area where I don't know, it seemed like you carried a lot of weight and bared a lot of attention, whether you wanted it or not. And I just remember thinking like, I, I don't even know how to relate to what this person's going through, like then. And now I don't, but like the amount of like sympathy and like courage and like amount that I want to applaud you for how you acted and behaved it there. I mean, sure, you've made up. I mean, you've messed up just as much as anybody else has messed up. But then like the energy that you carry now and like the way that you speak about these things and the vocabulary that you have is like, I don't know, just sounds like an evolved version of the person that I thought I used to know.
Wow. Thanks for like that feedback, bro. That means a lot coming from you. That means a lot coming from anybody, but like right here, hearing it from you, like thank you. Uh, I I never really put what I'm about to say together, like these two and two. Uh, like the year before I showed up at Omega, my sister got her ass beat by the cops, beat
Mm,
the fuck up. Like
mm,
it was terrible. It was awful. And um, now she's a lawyer. She works for the ACLU, and it's like she's been doing her part in dismantling this systemic injustice that has been happening since like the beginning of this imperialist capitalist world that we live in, this white supremacist world that we live in. And uh, I couldn't when I showed up at Omega, I wasn't ready to like accept the reality. I wasn't able to like not let it swallow me and destroy me. Like I was shook. I didn't know who I was. So I was like, I just need to smoke my weed and like smile with people and like go to ecstatic chant and do this shit that I'd never heard of. It was like another thing that reeled me in. The same. I think it was the first day I got there. It was Staff Appreciation Day. At night they had a dance party. So I didn't even smoke my weed before it. I was like, I don't know if I can be high around these people. Like, I don't know if somebody's gonna snitch if I smell like weed or something like that. And I remember going in there, and there was a black woman fucking dancing like I've never seen anybody dance. Like it was like she was free. She was just like moving however she wanted to move. And I was like, I cannot go on that dance floor. I cannot even do this. So I sat. They had like all those like mats and stuff on the side, and I just sat there. And I remember thinking like, I'm I can be whoever I want to be right here. Like I don't need to be this basketball player. I don't need to like get money. Like we weren't even getting paid at the time. It was like before things changed financially at Omega. And yeah, dude, there was a part of me that never really felt it was hard at times because I couldn't relate to too many people. Like nobody knew about the basketball thing and like what that world was really like hustling to try to get a scholarship and like competing at that level. And it's not a friendly world. Like it it's it's pretty high level competition, like Division 1 basketball, and it's just like it's language like people use in war. It's like we're trying to kill them, we're trying to dominate, we're
mm,
trying to destroy all of it. It's just like we're fucking more manly than they are, and we're gonna like they're a bunch of pussies. It was like shit like that. So I get to Omega, and like my whole world had been so aggressive, like from sixth grade until I was 22 when I showed up there and was there for 7 seasons. The seventh season is when like shit kind of spiraled out of control. But that was like most of my 20s, like from 22 to 29. And grateful that I was there, grew up there in a lot of ways. And there were several times where I was like, there's nobody here that gets it. And like there weren't very many black people. There 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 were some folks that some people would come through that had played a sport at a high level or competed at a high level. But where I could relate is there were so many high level artists. And
mm,
where I needed to adjust is like the art world, like visionary art or music or writing. Like so many dope poets would come through there. Like I brought this thing of like competitive athletics to what I was trying to do with art at the time, and like there was an adjustment for me. Like it's not a competition like that, and that's I was like I was a baby, and that's where like I guess thinking about this cocoon analogy, like I certainly like found out that I was a caterpillar trying to learn how to fly and how to express myself, surrounded by all these people that were so gifted at whatever their mediums was. And that, oh, I'll be forever grateful that I got to spend some of the most talented people I've ever been around were at that place. Are, well, I guess not are, because like that's no thing right now, but certainly were and have been connected to there. How do you feel about the art scene there? What was it like being an artist? Like really, you were when I first met you were like the first person that I looked up to. You had these like crazy long white boy dreads, and every wall in your K cap was like tagged up with, and I was just like, whoa, this is fucking sick. Like, what? Who is this dude? And you were so cool. Like you I feel like my energy might have been too much because I was just like, why? What the fuck is going on? Oh my god, like be my friend, be my friend. And you
No
were like,
way, dude. No way.
I, I felt like I was a bit much.
I
But
remember sometimes I'd be in that room and like sometimes people wouldn't I know I was in there and like some people would be like, "Have you seen his room? He covered the entire he muraled the whole thing." I would just be like, "Yeah, they think I'm cool." Because I that's how I felt. Like I wanted to be cool. Like I wanted to do something that made me cool too. Like I thought, I mean, rolling up and Ben Shikowitz is there in the art hut. Like that fool is he's a masterful painter. That the fucking Homer Simpson guy, like that dude, he's fucking, just hanging out in the in the cafe, and it's that same feeling of like, how do I get anywhere close to this level of whatever this person's on. And it's like now I look at it kind of differently. Like I did a little three month quick stay last emergency stay last summer, and I just remember this kid walked up, and his name was Skyler from California, 19, and I just remember being like, holy fuck, that's me. But like, just the last one. So he was just in some he's fucking goofball 19-year-old, drove his dad's Audi out here. It's just like, what are you doing? You have no idea what you look like to the world right now. A lot like I did when I went there. And I just remember taking him under my wing, and it was just like it was such a cool thing, dude, to see the cycle like that come full circle and be like that. I mean, it's one thing when a 19-year-old kid is looking up to a 30-something-year-old dude because it's like, yeah, you got some life experience. You could be like, yo, stick out your tongue, bang, see you in 24 hours, write me a journal entry. Like you could be the cool older brother, so it makes sense. But to hear it like coming from you, I'm like, what the? This is crazy. I didn't. No way, man. That's like me. Thank you for the compliment for sure. But I'm just like,
I had never seen anything like that, man. Like art was so far from my reality. It was just basketball. And it's like the same way I kind of fell in love with guitar and just play guitar all day, every day. It was just basketball. But basketball is much more insular. Like people that play music are like, I don't know, at Omega anyway. It was like there was just a community of folks. Basketball was just like however many people are on the team, maybe four or five of them you're real close with. And that's it. Everyone else is like the enemy. Everyone else one is trying to be better than.
mm,
So I showed up and I still had that mentality a little bit. So there were certain people where I was like, oh shit, like, yeah, you're the shit. You're fucking cool. You're fucking cool. Like, let's be a team. Like, let's go get it.
yeah,
And I'm very grateful for you remember Collie?
yeah.
I'm grateful for that dude. Like that
Shout out
fool,
Collie.
hell yeah, that fool kept me in check. He would say can I tell you a story about Collie? Were
Please
you
do.
there? Were you there that year? There was a hurricane that came through and it flooded the whole campus.
I think so. Yeah.
So Oh, it must have been. It must have been. It was the same. It was my first year I was there because I was still in a tent. And at a certain point, they upgraded. Like I got a bigger tent, and I
Uh-huh.
still didn't know how to put up a tent. So some folks came and like helped me put it up. And then I had a girlfriend, and like I was staying with her in the chalet. So Collie like took over my king size tent because he was still in a small ass tent. I was like, Collie, like stay in my tent. Like we'll smoke weed every morning.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. Like woke up dumb early back then too. I'd go like wake his ass up at like 6:30 or 7. Like, Collie, let's smoke this weed before I go to breakfast. And this morning it was a hurricane. It was like on its way to flooding. It was a hell of a lot of rain already. And I go and Collie had a lady in his tent. Collie gets mad. Like he hears me. He was like, "Hey!" I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Collie, I've never heard you fucking be aggressive like that." I was like, "I'll chill, bro. It's all good. I'll roll up over here. I still got a second tent, dog." So I rolled up in my small tent. Um, his friend left. Collie did not feel it was necessary to put any clothes on. He was like, "Okay," and then it was funny how he like beckoned to me. He was like, "Okay, I'm ready." I was like, "All right, cool, I'm ready too." And like I covered up my little doobie because it was raining fucking cats and dogs. And I go in there, and he's sitting on the air mattress, like just still, just cool as a cucumber. And we're smoking. All of a sudden, this deer gives birth, like right behind the tent. We didn't even know it was laying back there, but we just hear like all this noise. And I was like, "What the fuck is that, Collie? You brought the ghost over here?" And we look, and it was a mama deer giving birth to a baby deer. So I was like, "Whoa, that's some shit." So I was like, "All right, Collie, I gotta go to work." I went, and it was by this time it was enough rain that I didn't wear shoes the whole day. It was just flooding. So we're just like walking through the rain, fucking trying to help people cross this like little flooded part of the creek. And got a break. So of course on my break, trying to go smoke some weed with Collie. I go back to the tent. Collie's asleep. The air mattress is floating on like a foot and a half of water.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, Collie, like, do you know you're floating, or does it feel like an air mattress, like, or a water mattress? Like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like, wake up, let's smoke this weed. And we're chiefing, and Collie, I'm not so sure he said a word until he was like, "Hey, stop talking." I was like, "Okay," and he said, "Look." And up above us, between the tent and the rain flap, was a mama mouse giving birth to a baby mouse.
Whoa.
Swear to God, the same day. Like 2 hours later, this mouse is up there. And I was pissed off at Collie because he let a wolf spider just like stay in there.
Mm.
I'm like, bro, you got to get this fucking thing out of here. I've never seen a spider this big in my life. Like, this is my tent. I know you sleeping in it, but you got to get this fucking shit. And he was like, nah, it's my friend. And I was like, all right. So he was like, stop talking. And this mouse gives birth. And he was like, see, sometimes you should just listen more and see what nature has to offer. And it just hit me. I was like, yeah, bro, I talked to you. You're right. Thank you. You're right. And he would say little shit like that all the time. That was just like quick attitude adjuster.
Mm. He seemed to have it figured out, and I think a lot of people go there to try to figure it out. I mean, but he definitely had a different sense of confidence about him, I think, than most people.
I have no idea. He's like the greatest. He's one of the greatest mysteries of humans. I have no idea what his thing is.
Because he
He's
could
just
often just be present, but also very quiet, like almost silent the entire day, but
yep.
hanging the whole time, like not there, just not talking.
Yeah, he was just down to be there. And and then I remember like Collie was like he there was it was like a ladies' night, one of these ladies' affairs where they were like hanging. It was a bunch of women hanging out, doing their thing, having a party, and I was most certainly not invited, and not a single dude was except for Collie, and like they were having a great time with Collie. And I went and I thought it was cool because Collie was there, and how I found out it was ladies' night. They was like, nah, it's ladies' night. I was like, well, what about this motherfucking guy? Like, how's he here? And he was like hella talkative. He actually had on like this like I Love Lucy looking dress thing.
Really?
And straight up, he had on this thing, and I was like, Collie, are you like tripping balls right now? Like, what are you doing? And he was just chilling, man. He was having a good old time. He was more talkative than I've ever seen him. He was sipping his wine, like, sitting real like still like he does and doing his thing. It's my boy.
Oh man, that place is special, dude.
It is.
I
It
don't know.
is.
I don't know that it's gonna be that same thing ever again. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what comes of this whole thing. But
We'll see.
some part of me thinks that like maybe that's a chapter that should start to close and let other places start to open up, and improve upon what they started.
There's certainly some things that could be improved upon. And I don't know, man. It would it's such an interesting way for that whole thing to fizzle out if it is said and done.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's like it's all these places, man. I mean, like Cosm's not open. They're not letting anybody in. It's like for what? What
It's
fucking
it's
virus?
still shut down.
Yeah, this is my opinion, and I know we're live, so I'll keep it gentle. But it's like I think there's a lot of places looking at their way of doing business that was like kind of the old school model: push for profit, try to get as much as you can by being a business, and even if you're a nonprofit, never really necessarily showing how you're spending the money or where it's going, And the last time I was at Omega, it's like, dude, you're seeing like Maseratis roll in. Everybody that works in the front office seems to have a Volvo or higher, quality vehicle, whatever. And we're making whatever, a couple $100 a week. Like we don't make very much by working there. And it's like the way that I remember like being in Women in Power or something and hearing something crazy like, oh, we got like some ridiculous amount of money. We have to spend it now though. And it's like they bought like you should see what they bought. They bought like these little signs that just make it feel like I'm on a fucking Google campus.
Hmm.
And it's just like, I don't want that. That used to just be a tree. Now there's this big plastic thing with fucking lettering all over it. Not to mention that that place has not opened and has not been able to use those stupid signs anyway. So,
Hmm.
but my point is, it's like, who knows where that money came from? Who knows how much those signs costed? Who knows that maybe they just padded the receipt, to cover the cost. And it's like, and this goes to so and so's vacation fund, or and I'm not accusing anybody in specific, particularly, because I don't feel like it's my place to, but I do think that businesses are going to be uh, encouraged to be a lot more transparent with their finances. And if they're not, I think our generation and like the next ones that come up are just going to be like, well, we're not interested unless you can show me the receipt. And I'm not donating money unless you show me the receipt. Like the last thing I want to say about Cosm, how many fucking years have we been building this place? Like, what? It's like you can't throw up a fucking building with put some paintings up? Like, dude, I put whole paintings up by myself for free. Like, Jesus Christ, how many millions do you need? Like, you're transparent with your money. I'm just not getting that vibe anymore. You know?
Wow, that's funny. I hadn't thought about it like that, but Entheon has been being built for a long time. It really has.
And the thing is, like, they built one in New York that was great, and that was the big move. Was like, let's just build this never-ending thing, and a lot of these places kind of seem to be that way.
Mm.
Like the last place that I worked at, I'm still kind of hashing it out and trying to amend some of the language I used when I exited there. But it was a similar thing. It's like that's a $200,000 barn. Like what? That's the oldest building on the property, and it's still not finished. So
Mm.
it's just like, come on.
So
Like
this,
occasionally there's like that gap in the generational observance of like who's in charge, and occasionally you can be like, y'all ain't fucking up to date, are you?
there's like, and then also people younger than us are more hip than we are, more
Oh,
tuned
for
in.
sure.
Young folks are really doing some really cool things right now. That makes me think of a question. Like this digital art and these, what is it, NFTs?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I have no idea what this is all about. I just like caught wind on Reddit and didn't like spiral enough to really learn. But what's up? Like how what why did this digital art all of a sudden become something that like is more than some underground conversation? Like what's an NFT?
So, like, let's see. It's a good question. I mean, it's like what makes like a run of Jordan's valuable? It's because it's like a limited a run, right? And then like let's say you're a collector, but you're shopping on eBay. You're trying to get. It's like you might get some Jordans that aren't exactly right. They're like faked, you know. But you paid like 90% of what you would have paid for real ones. But they're pretty good. Like you could probably wear them and fool most people. That is a problem with like a lot of different things, especially in art and especially in music. And what this affords you to do as a creator is, for one, I can say I'm going to digitize our transaction on a blockchain, right? And now you have, let's say you bought this painting behind me, but you're like, that's cool, but I really want the NFT. Nobody's going to believe me that I have this painting at my house unless I'm like, yo, check it out. It's in my collectibles. Like that'll be the new way to be like, ooh, look at this. And then on top of that, let's say you're like, all right, dude, I love this painting. I'm never gonna sell it, but I'm in a pinch, and somebody's like, oh, you have a Jesse Berger NFT. What if I buy that NFT off you? So now you can keep your painting, sell this digital form of it if you want to, and anytime that that changes hands, it sends a kickback to the original creator. So it's kind of like taking the mm, like like agent out of it, whether you be a
Hmm.
musician or artist, like the
Hmm.
middleman is getting removed of it. But uh, I'm glad you brought that up because I was like almost like I don't know if we can talk about this yet, but what I want to do, because like the way that this is all, it's becoming really popular and it's becoming something that people want to do, but they feel like they can't afford to do it because it's expensive and there's pricing that looks a lot different if you're not used to like looking at Bitcoin versus dollar value per se. But I'm tempted to do an album release like this. So we do an album, right? And then we're like, hey, on this day, if you're just a fan, like you're just, I like some freebin shit. I got no money, but I'm gonna sign up and come to the drop. I want one of the first 100. We'll send you that one for free. And that's like, we'll let you listen to the album all day. Say, fucking put that on YouTube, take it away. But like having that little proof that you got a free bin NFT, now that shit's cool all of a sudden. Why? I don't fucking know. But I want one.
Hmm.
Now, if you get that for free, and let's say you hang on to it like 5, 10 years, just whatever, and it's like, oh, wasn't like Sakaya in that band? Look, Sakaya is fucking playing Coachella now. That NFT might be worth a lot because it's like that's some old school work that he did. And now this kid who was just a fan, he's got this free digitized thing which he could sell at any point. And if he decides to, it kicks back the original creator of the album. And
Huh.
then
When
it's
it
like
kicks
when we
back,
sell,
that's like some kickback, some funds.
yeah, so yeah, though there's always going to be a kickback. Like you can write the smart contract to be, I want 10% of anything that
Okay.
this sells, or it can be like the one that I got, Sakaya's. He was like, oh, I want 30% if you sell. I was like, dude, you can take whatever you want. I just wanted it for a second to have the first one.
And when you say in your collectibles, like where do NFTs live? Like if you have them?
So like I'll put it up on my phone. Do you have a MetaMask wallet?
Nope. It's in a MetaMask wallet.
Yeah, so it's like this little fucking, I don't know if you guys can see this.
Oh
See that
yeah.
dude?
Yep.
So that guy, and then right in here, you want to see Sakai's?
I do.
You won't
Is it
believe it.
Owsley?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Dog and squirrel, not real squirrel.
That's dope. So
But
they live
so,
they live that's your wallet, that's your wallet.
yeah,
Cool.
or it's one of them. But it's like
Right, right.
most people don't have like they don't have access to good information about the blockchain because all the media outlets, Instagram, Facebook, all of this shit is centralized media. What that means is all this data gets to go to somebody like Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, and they decide what they want to curate your experience to be. So it's like if they think this is a good information that will threaten you to leave their platform, do you think it's going to reach you? No, it's literally blocked. Literally blocked. And everybody's like, I'm trying to sign up to buy Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, this no ID takes 2 seconds. I could send you crypto if you download it now. I'll do it
Hmm.
for free. I
Hmm.
want to.
Cool. I mean, well, k- ha- it's been hard for me to learn about. I remember way back, it had to be like 2012, 2011, 2013, like sometime way back, you were trying to tell me about blockchain and it went over my head. I was like, dude, what? And there's been several times since then, like because of that conversation, where I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to see what the fuck Jesse was talking about because I have no idea what this dude was talking about. But it's not. These days it's easier, I feel like, than it was 5 years ago to learn something about Bitcoin. But these days there's so much information that like every time I read something, I think that there's like some people that really know what's up. That this ain't the shit that I need to learn. What like I'm Googling. Do you ever talk to your boy, Jeff? He good these days?
Yeah. Jeff.
I used to love that guy so much. He
He's
had
a
a
wild
sick
man.
no comply.
He's a wild man. He's a
Where
wild.
is he?
He's in uh he's in Massachusetts. He's not too far.
Is that right?
Yeah. He don't really do the crypto thing too much anymore, but he's really big into this like GME short thing, which is just like again, there's only so many hours in the day and bandwidth I have for the internet, but it's just like
I'm
everybody just fucking man their battle stations and let's tear this baby down. Like I'm
I'm with
ready.
that. I'm with that. I
But
am with that.
but it's for real like yeah, I don't know about you, but like I don't learn very much by just like Googling things. Like I either need a video or like I need to have it in my hands and interact with it. So like not to just put you on blast and like, oh, you got to download this app now. But like if we do get together, like we should just walk through it. It's pretty simple and straightforward. And then you realize the power. Like when Sakai didn't even have that app. And I was like, how does this dude not even have that? Like this is one of the coolest people that I know. How does he not know about this?
What's
And
the app? Is it on the App Store?
just search MetaMask.
MetaMask. It's just a straight up App Store app. Like, golly, it's that simple. MetaMask. Oh, I put in ME and it popped up. They're probably listening to me.
I talk about it all the time. But what's cool is like when you have that MetaMask wallet, let's say like you're a homeowner and you're like, we're ready to sell the house and somebody wants to buy it, but they're like, what if we make our own deal, cash for this price agreement, and it requires nothing to go to a bank, it requires no third party. Dude, you can just be like, oh, here's my QR code, take a picture of it with my phone and it sends it to you. And not like there's no limit. Nobody clears it. Dude, if I wanted to buy a fancy car right now in US dollar, it would take like 5 days. I'd probably get flagged for moving 50K into a bank account. It's like, yo, that why? Why? Who says they need to monitor all this? Like
Hmm.
because that's where I mean, not to circle back to the centralized power is like really dangerous. And I think that has a lot to do with where we're at right now.
I mean, for many reasons and in many fronts, like you talks about man your battle station. Like there's like a lot of things that have seemed like they're on the verge of revolution for quite some time, and decentralizing banks feels like it's uh, this is a bit beyond like my realm of knowledge, but that seems to be disrupting systems that affect a lot of other systems. Like people don't play about their money, especially people that are controlling the money. So it seems I'm about it. I am about it. I look forward to learning more about what's happening because it's like so quickly become a mainstream thing, like Bitcoin and just blockchain. Mm, but like there's things that aren't mainstream. You know what I mean? Like there's I know that there's a lot that I don't know.
Hmm. I mean, to be honest with you, like the more and more I get into it, the less it is about like making money and it's just about making change. And I think the big shift was, I mean, I'll be honest, dude. Like I was fucking sending weed to New York, and, trying to come up, fucking, well, how much footwork I would go through to make like $2,000. Like, god damn, fucking, what a waste of time. And I remember Ken putting me in this one class, and it was with this woman, Sherry Mitchell, who wrote a book basically called Decolonize Us. And she's a Native American, like, hardcore activist. She's like a huge, huge lawyer up in Maine, and was like fighting for all those people standing up for the water pipeline and stuff. Like, once I realized who I was recording, I was like, oh shit, like, this is going to be interesting.
Mm.
And like, Decolonize Us, fuck, dude. I mean, you could say it in any different way, and it's going to affect everybody when it affects them. But like, that's what made me see it as a white supremacist problem that's not only in our country but globally. And it was by colonizing this whole planet. And then you expand that to, take it to colonizing a market, colonizing industries. Like,
Mm.
it's the same thing. And for some reason, that word and the way she kept saying it, and like, dude, I've always loved Native American stuff. I just always thought it was so cool how they used every piece of the animal, and they lived in tune with nature, and they never figured out the wheel, and just like, they fucking smoked weed and shit. I was like, I want to damn, I don't want to be one of these people. I don't want to be one of these people. And Sherry, like, this is a G that's just like, when a G looks at you long enough, you're like, oh, fuck, why are you looking at me so long? And she'd always look at me like, dude, I'm not saying you are a bad person, but the world has this view of you. And you would probably benefit yourself and many others if you could understand that and be able to communicate this effectively to others.
Mm.
And that's when I was like, all right, I recognize that there's a problem. Somehow I'm involved, and like, I want to start getting closer. And uh, it so I took that workshop, and then I thought, okay, now I got it, right? You take your 3-day class. I got how I know how to decolonize, right? And then, meet some hot little thing. We're running around, and she's recently going through a similar unpacking of this whole thing, and eager to express this message to me as well. And I'm doing my best to listen, right? She always wants to watch like movies that I don't want to watch, and like, on top of that, if if someone's like, "Hey, let's Netflix and chill," it's like, for me, I'm probably gonna be asleep in 5 minutes. Like, I just I always fall asleep in front of the TV. And so, God bless her, God bless her. But she's like, let's watch The Black Klansman. I'm like, I'm down. That shit looks funny as shit. Like, let's do it. And we start watching, and I passed out in the movie. And it's like, she was so offended by that, by me falling asleep. Like, it was as if I wasn't interested. And I remember kind of being like, why is she so mad? Like, and so then I watched that movie by myself, and it was just like, dude, I wish I could go back to that moment and keep my eyes open just for a second, just to like let somebody know that I wanted to at least try to hear this message.
Mm.
And the way that message in that movie comes out, it's like, it's a serious message, and it's entertaining. Like, it's hard to get people to pay attention to some shit that's like they don't want to hear.
Mm. Mm. I never saw it. So you watched it again though? Were you still friends with that girl by
Dude,
the
I mean,
time you
it
watched
wasn't
it again?
until like, I think we ended up splitting up a couple weeks later, and I
Yeah.
mean, it was the classic. She just took me for the cuffing season, and I was like, oh shit, would you look at that? It is spring. But I
Hey,
remember
did
being
was that was that workshop you recorded, was that the last season you were there?
that was in 2019. Yeah,
Oh wow. It's dope when like it was really a privilege to be able to sit in so many workshops and like be a part of recording them. Like there was like so much learned from there was a lot of bullshit that came through there too, but there was more often than not, even when it was some bullshit that came through there, there were still, like Ken would say, there was still some nuggets that could be taken from there. And like something when you were talking about just colonization, I think a large part of my time during my 20s, both at that place and in like in the off seasons, one year I lived at the monastery up in Woodstock, up at the top of the mountain. And um, I think I think like my greatest journey, and there were times like I would articulate it in different ways. Like for a while, I was like on some Timothy Leary lingo. Like I was just trying to tune in, turn on, and drop out, like trying to decolonize my mind. I felt
Mm,
like my mind had been colonized. Like I'd been told who I was supposed to be, like what I was supposed to do, and how I was supposed to act to be like a man, to be respected as having like proper masculinity. And like this meant like I had to get money, I had to objectify women, and I had to be like aggressive and like willing to be violent or like dominant. And Omega allowed this space where like I didn't have to be that dude. But then there was like this period pretty much the whole time I was there. Like winter would come and I wasn't there and I didn't know how to be the same person. Like I didn't know how to have integrity. I didn't know like I also give credit to Omega for like bringing up this idea of core values and like understanding where like what I care about. And still it, and I swear to God, I told you this other day we was on the phone. Like I wish I had this state of mind that I have now before I had kids. Like values and integrity and priorities didn't hit in the same way. It didn't make sense. Like I didn't have to show up for anyone else. So I could like pretend who like I was one way at Omega, then I'd leave and I'd be depressed and scared and like all fucked up. It was really fear. It was like fear dominated everything. And
mm,
Omega provided some respite. But that was the underlying like cocoon period to bring it back to that, like understanding who I was and how to be consistent in that person, how to be consistent in myself regardless of my circumstances, regardless of what's going on. And that feels like a huge point of like decolonizing internally, individually, because society tells us who we're supposed to be if we're male bodied. Society tells us who we're supposed to be if we're not male bodied. Society doesn't give a fuck about non-binary folks. It's like there are all these ways that society has like colonized our brains. And you brought it up, like talking about news, how we're getting spoon fed whatever like we are to be curated. And the same can go for like social media and all these things. Like um, there's like when there's I don't like this term, but it made me think like to a certain degree we're all sheeple. And like that was such a trendy fucking term when all these people, oh, you sheeples in your vaccines, like I'm not with all that talk. But for the purpose of this conversation, like I very much felt uh, this internal conflict with who I thought I was supposed to be because of what society told me, and who I felt I wanted to be because of like where my heart was, and like where my morals felt what were right and wrong. And I was constantly contradicting myself with my actions. And I think that was like the seeds, those were the seeds that were planted at Omega. And I saw that like it was possible to live a certain kind of way. It's like when Rodney Mullen first kick flipped, like nobody had kick flipped, and then all of a sudden people are kick flipping down a 10 stair. It's like I just had to see it was possible to
right.
have integrity, like to be kind, and I still am. I'm not perfect, and I'm still can be an asshole, and was an asshole there at times. But at that place, that's where I saw that it was possible to like live life a little bit different than just being like whatever society told me I was supposed to do. So it's like interesting to think about, yes, white supremacy, imperialism, capitalism, all of these things, patriarchy, have acted together to colonize both land, resources, people, and like our minds. It's like, and it's also, I mean, all of this was happening cognitively, and then like psychedelics kind of like took these ideas or like these things that I was feeling in my heart like beyond my mind. It became something just like this source of connection, this like a tangible feeling of being decolonized. It was
Mm,
like, oh, this is like there's freedom outside of the bounds of my mind. Like there's all these other dimensions to life. And I'll forever be grateful for like And it's not specific to Omega, but Omega was such a part of my life when these things were happening. It was like kind of like the cocoon. It was kind of like the nest. Like I could, Mama Eagle was out like doing her thing, and I could like sit back here and be like, all right, let me go to the diner hall and get some grub. I hadn't thought about it like that. Like that colonization. What's her name again? I want to look her up.
Sherry Mitchell.
Sherry Mitchell. What's
Yeah.
up, Sherry Mitchell? Thank you.
She's like Bear Clan people. I mean, ooh, she's so cool, dude.
Dope.
But you know, like I've tried. I've like I had a glimpse of this before, and then what I try to always do is like I gotta go back and tell everybody, you know, like delete your Facebook. It's like you're on Facebook telling me to delete my Facebook. It's not a good way to do it. But it's like honestly, like we're all computer programmers, right? And we live in a digital reality, and like it's just a simulation. You don't believe me? It's like order an Uber. That's typing in something into your phone and changing your physical reality to your needs whenever you decide you want to. And what people forget about that is like that's cool for Uber for you, but like reverse engineer that to Instagram. Like the lives that we live are 100% curated depending on how much data we give it away. And it's like we do it to Google does it, and most people use Chrome and Firefox. The phone companies do it, and most people don't use Signal, you know, or like an encrypted messaging app. And people are still insisting on giving as much information and selfies and literally TikTok videos. Like all of that stuff is harvested and paid for by advertisement companies to not only sell you stuff, but then potentially, uh, you know, you saw like the storming of the Capitol, whatever you want to describe that as, other than just chaos and a lot of misinformation on like kind of I wouldn't say it's the brightest people in our country, but they're probably on Facebook a lot. A lot. Like they're highly programmed people. They're not dumb, but they're highly programmed, highly manipulable. And as we get more decentralized, and it's like these are all steps of unpacking it. And it's like you were the one that was like, "Hey, let's talk on Signal." And that's when I was like, he's starting to get it. Another one, and then like literally just stop using Google. Just it's like your world changes. It gets better. It's like, you know, who else is like doesn't have a fucking phone? Ken. I'm like this guy. He's like one of the happiest
He's
guys.
the OG. Ken is the
Call the
OG of
house phone,
OGs.
landline only. Like that dude isn't undercover. He's gotta be. What is he doing?
Coach. He's the coach. I like that. I like that you turn me on to Ken being the coach.
I was watching that like Michael Jordan documentary or whatever, The Last Dance, and I mean, whatever. Michael's amazing, but that Phil, dude, and Rodman in that. Oh man, those would like. I wish I could be a Rodman plus a Phil. Like that. That is a
Oh,
wild
that.
combination
Oh,
right
interesting. They probably. I just feel like if Phil Jackson was Dennis Rodman's age, they would have partied together. They would have had a good time.
there.
That documentary came out like when COVID was raging at the beginning, and it was like medicine. I loved it so much. I probably watched it like 3 or 4 times. And
Me too. I've honestly watched it just because it's like I want to study what it's like to be great. Like I want to know what it's like to be greatness. I want to get closer to that. You know,
mm,
whatever that is. And not saying everybody as individuals did it, but like the 96 Bulls, 95 Bulls, and then Michael's like work ethic. Fuck, dude, it's hard to separate any of those from the word greatness. I mean, whoa.
mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying it has to be that sport or whatever, but it's like if I can be that dedicated and that practiced in my lane, I'm I don't know. That would mean a lot to me.
Yeah, I feel you on that. And like my sons got real sick. One of them like struggled, almost passed from COVID in March. A year ago today was the first day he was sick. One of them, Link, got sick on this day.
Hmm.
And the last dance started, I want to say in April. Like every Sunday they were showing it last year. And I agree. Like to see people that are great do great things. It's like the same kickflip analogy. Like if Michael Jordan can get that fucking good doing what he's doing, like I'm not 6'6" and I can't run like a gazelle and jump like a kangaroo, but I can be the best dad that I can possibly be, and I can work hard at it. And like that's where I was at. I was like, I'm gonna get in the best fucking shape of my life. Like when my kids go to sleep, I'm gonna play guitar and be the best guitar player I can be, and like all of these things. And it's certainly inspired me just to see his like Kobe would talk about like there was this great quote, and I was not a Kobe fan. Was much more of a Kobe fan when he got done playing basketball. When like he seemed to be a really good father, and he was like a mentor to a lot of people. But he talked about like having unwavering laser focus on things, and I
Mm,
feel like great people that are great um, focus could look a lot of different ways, but it seems like folks that are great at something and put the hours and the time and the love and the passion into cultivating those that skill set, it does predicate on being able to remain focused to a certain degree. Like I hear, I've read stories about Jerry Garcia and how like, you know, Jerry was a drug addict and he had a hard life, like in a lot of ways. But they said he would never, when he wasn't on stage, he always had a guitar with him. And they say the same thing about Jimi Hendrix and the same thing about every other great guitar player. The dudes just always are playing. And that's the same idea of focus. Like, doesn't matter what the fuck is going on. If you're eating cheeseburgers, smoking dope, like he's great at guitar. And that's what the fuck he did. Never let that go and never let that down. And The Last Dance certainly like woke that up in me again. And these are sort of things like we have multiple awakenings, but it definitely woke it up again. And I haven't gone back to sleep on that since that happened. Like COVID shook me up. Last Dance kind of like colonized my priorities towards like focusing on being better at something.
mm-hmm.
And now I almost feel like you talked about my life in terms of like chapters, like this chapter of basketball, and then that chapter is done. Can you talk about this cocoon period? I feel like post Omega is a whole like a separate one, and I still feel like I'm a baby, but I
Mm.
feel like there's a focus, and uh, I feel like there's a focus, and like progress is being made, and I'm excited. I've never been really excited about life, bro, but I'm excited about it right now.
Dude, you should be. You should be, because I really feel like there's gonna be some good things coming your way, and just it's like this whole pandemic's been rough, bro. Like, just I feel like I needed the pandemic to happen to start reaching out to people again and be
Mm.
like, you know, recently I've had several close friends, whatever, be like, you're changing, you're acting different, you aren't fitting into my way of considering you a friend, and yeah, like that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to change. You're not supposed to just stay the same. Like that breeds insanity to me, and I can confirm, dude. I haven't seen you in person yet, but it's like you've changed, dude, and I'm glad. Like, you didn't change, you made progress, like in the right direction. And because I think when people say like you're changing, it's like I want to. I had to.
You know, that makes me think of Jesse. So when back in these days, in the K-Cab days, when I was looking up to you as like this dope artist dude that like was listening to fucking Wu-Tang and shit, I was like, who the fuck is this dude? And when's your birthday?
August 7th.
August 7th. You're a Leo. My birthday is August 20th. I'm a Leo, and I don't know nothing more about astrology than that. But I thought it was highly interesting that we have the same tattoo that says "Stay True."
Dude, I forgot about that.
I didn't. You got it. Is it across your chest?
Hell yeah.
Yep. Stay true on your chest. I got stay true. I got stay true right here on my ribs.
Wait, like before you went there, before we ever met each other?
Yeah. I got this tattoo in like my first year of college in Newark.
Wow.
Yep, and that was like that was one of those things. I actually wrote a book that year at Omega. It's like at sign Omega, and like in my mind, it was like this dope shit. I was like baked one day. I was like, oh, this is like at the end. I'm like at the end of something, and this is the awakening to something new. And it was just like a bunch of poems and stuff. And and I was like, I need to like write down this awakening experience. And I was like reading a bunch of Rumi and all this like mystical, all these different mystical texts. And one day it was summertime and I had my shirt off. You was like, what does that say? And I was like, stay true. And you were like, and like you were kind of stoic back then. Like you didn't show very many happy emotions, or at least not to me. Like that's why I thought I was annoying as fuck, because you were just like, dude. And then you were like, look, I have the same tattoo. I was like, oh, what? Who is this dude? Is this, what the fuck is this place, man? This shit is weird.
I
But
don't know
yeah.
about you, but I remember sometimes I'd be like, I would just say something to Ken or somebody like, I don't know, Tyler said this thing kind of pissed me off. Now I'm pissed off. You know, it's just, of course, it just being my own shit, and I just wanted to put it on anybody else besides me. You know, and and yeah, I just remember like so many times, like just a good word of wisdom would whisper in my ear, like, you know, this is like, this is your lesson. This is why it's getting your attention. This is why it's flaring you up. It's teaching you, you know. And I remember being like, I know that's true because that's happened to me before in the past, but like, I'm not there yet. And now I'm like, man, like this dude has taught me so much about myself and how reactive I can be and how afraid of the other I can be and how much I want to make progress like you have, you know?
Mm. That's, you used another word that's been very present in my life and like what I feel like I'm chewing on and working through right now. Like we've talked a little bit about like values and priorities and integrity. And then it seems like what I can see somewhere over yonder in trying to trying to progress is to be with enough integrity to understand my values enough to where I'm not reactive. Like all of my actions come from this place of integrity, and I am most definitely not there yet, and was um, had even more of a way to go back in those days when we were at Omega together. And it did come from a very fear-based thing. Like I was afraid to be wrong, or afraid to look stupid, and afraid to be embarrassed, or what even is embarrassed. But like I would react in all these ways to come out on top, like to act like I would react in these ways so I felt like I was superior then. And these are all things that in hindsight, these are ways in which society colonized my mind to make me think that my sense of identity depended on like being better than someone or being right. And these days I still make the same mistakes. And it's kind of like in meditation or in some conscious relaxation practice. The practice is just to notice and to keep coming back. And the more we practice, like the faster we can notice and keep coming back. So um, it was interesting to hear you say like react, because I can certainly react to people I'm closest to and be harmful. And maybe one day, maybe one day I can be less reactive. And this this conversation is kind of like, thank you. It's been like eye opening to be able to bounce off uh, what's happening in my life and what's happened in our lives, and kind of like plot an energetic course towards whatever our greatness will be. That painting is so dope, dude.
So there'd been like a few people that were like, when's the this person episode? When's the this person episode? When's the Mowgli? When's the this? When's the that? You know? And it's like, yeah, yeah, okay, we'll get it. We'll, you know, scheduling, fucking whatever. And then like, I think two or three people were like, would you ever have Tyler on? I was like, would I? Oh my God, I guess I have to. Like, that's why is everybody asking this question a little different? You know, I was just like, oh man, let's do it. Like this, I couldn't believe that that phone call went as well as it did, and that we're here tonight. I mean, thank you, dude. Much
Yeah,
love.
thank you. I look forward to hanging out. You got to get Sakaya on here next or sometime.
Yeah, that's a tough one, dude. I'll have to send him some crypto to get him on here.
And then the coach.
The coach, he would be a good one. I
The
would love
coach
to
would
see
be
that one.
great. Coach
Yeah.
would be great.
You did you hear anything about like the second week of April? Have you heard any of these whispers or?
I haven't, but Ken called me while I was cooking dinner, and
Okay.
I'm about to go on a little walk and call him back as soon as we get done here.
I won't say any more than that, baby.
Oh, I'm excited to call Kenny back. Jesse, thank you, man. Let's hang out and get like some breakfast one of these days. The weather's starting to get really beautiful.
Dude, I would love to have breakfast with you, man. That'd be great.
All right, I'll hit you up. We'll try to do it next week.
Hey, thank you so much, Tyler. Peace and love. Spread it.
Love you, bro. Appreciate you.